If you're feeling lost, stuck, frozen, or completely disconnected with who you are, then lean into today's show because I'll be sharing insights from 3 books that have helped transform my emotional intelligence, my emotional well-being, and helping me, or have helped me certainly, to expand into a life of vitality. Earlier this week, I had quite a profound conversation with a relatively new friend of mine who was expressing this sense of feeling stuck. Now, it's a regular type of conversation that I have with a number of people. But this week, I recommended the 3 books that I'm going to be sharing with you. I recommended them to her to help her grow into who she feels she is due to be. Before I do any of that, if you're one of my regulars, welcome back. Great to see you here. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Bybreen Samuels, and I help baby boomers reinvent themselves psychologically, practically, and technically so they can thrive in their 3rd act of life. So as I said earlier this week, I had a wonderful conversation with an emerging friend of mine, and she has just been living into what I'm going to describe as her status quo. And what I was sharing with her was, there are personal development insights that can really help you. And I shared these 3 books with you. The first one I want to bring to your attention is this fantastic book by Lucia Cappachione. And she is a doctor of psychology and an arts therapist. And as you can see, the book is called Recovery of Your Inner Child. I came across this book about 25 years ago. So it would have been in the very late 90s when I'd actually started my journey of self-improvement and self-development because my life was literally burning. And while I was really deep into the study of astrology, this book came to my attention, and it's fantastic. And it's a book that allows each and every one of us to explore our inner child. And as she says, just put my glasses on for this one, as she says in the beginning of chapter 1, inside every adult, there is a child crying, "Let me out." And this is so true. Now, what she talks about in this book is this sense of each and every one of us, in a varying degree, has a wounded child inside of us. And this wounded child, potentially, or we've experienced, has sabotaged us in terms of our relationships, our careers, and just our general sense of happiness and well-being. And what she does, her process is phenomenal in that it's a very interactive book. And the way that you're being led through this book is by writing and drawing with your less dominant hand. So I'm right-handed. And so what she invites each and every one of us to do is to use our weaker hand to actually write out the exercises or draw. And what it does, it immediately collapses you into this sense of vulnerability, of being vulnerable, and it takes you into your child life. And what she talks about is about acknowledging this wounded child and then finding ways to nurture and nourish this wounded child. So as I was exploring my navigation out of my burning life in the late 90s, what happened, I was involved in quite a high profile legal campaign with 5 other leaders, and we took on the law courts, the law, and the Institute of Teaching Barristers. Anyway, we ran through this campaign, lasted for about 3 years, and my life was burning. And I'm so glad because the door was firmly shut in my face with regards to practicing as a lawyer. But what it did was that it opened up my creativity and my sense of play and joy. And so that was the first kind of recognition into my inner child. And so it's about finding ways that help you crack open your identity, that takes you beyond the veneer of your job title, the roles and responsibilities you've played in your life, because each and every one of us has been a child, and each and every one of us has our own inner child. Allow her to come out, allow him to come out. And so what Lucia does is literally guide us very exquisitely and playfully and psychologically and emotionally through how to connect with our inner child. So one of the ways in which she invites us to do is to have conversations with our inner child, our younger self, and then write the narrative of that with your less dominant hand. Or it could be that you're going to draw the imagery or just draw creatively what is being expressed by your inner child. And I find that a really powerful question to ask yourself with regards to your inner child is to ask her, for me, I asked her, what is it that you need to allow me and you to grow? So it's a powerful question because it leads you into asking, what is it that your life needs today? And actually, by connecting and activating and playing with your inner child, by asking yourself that question to your younger childlike self, what is it that you actually need to grow, to thrive? What is it that you need to stop doing? What is it that you need to say no to? What is it where you need to be boundaried? What is it that you need to be more expanded about? Is a very powerful question that is going to help ignite the thoughts. But I love Lucia's book. I'm so glad I came across it 25 years ago because it was one of the very profound tools, along with me studying astrology, which is my first love. And around the same time, I did a master's in analytical psychology, which is really looking at who we are underneath the surface. And so this book was a natural complement to my master's because our inner child is there waiting for us to tap into, to re-engage with, to bring out our vitality and joy. So this is, I would say, a must-have. And you can dive into it over the years, but it's brilliant in terms of reconnecting you with your inner child, the playful part of you. And I remember how one example of me playing was about 6 years ago when I first went to Web Summit. Now, Web Summit is this international tech conference in Lisbon, in Portugal, where about 50, 60,000 of us descend into Portugal. It is a phenomenal playground, well, certainly for me. And I remember the first time I went to Web Summit and I saw Sophia the robot, as well as this flying cars. Now, I don't even drive. I've never been interested in driving. But this concept of flying cars, it was this sense of wow and wonderment. And I remember my inner child was high-fiving me and saying, Bybreen, this is the world you have to bring into our lives. So connecting with your inner child allows you to continually explain and explore and experience your joy. So please, 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 this one is a must. Okay. The second book I'm going to recommend to you is this equally exquisite book called Steering by Starlight. It's a bit bright, so I hope you can see this here. It's Steering by Starlight, and it's by the magnificent Martha Beck. Now, I met Martha Beck back in, I can remember, it was April 2009, as we were all trying to navigate the downturn years, the lean years, the brutalizing years. And she even signed my book, so I'm really happy about that. And she describes me as the shaman and to enjoy my magic. But Martha Beck is a phenomenal educator. She's an ologist. So she's a psychologist, she's a psychiatrist, she's a linguist, she's a life strategist, and she's also an author of a number of books, Steering by Starlight being one of them. And she used to be a writer for Oprah and O Magazine. She is phenomenal. She came here to London back in April 2009. And for 2 days, this woman just stood and spoke to us and engaged with us. It was phenomenal. Now, this book, Steering by Starlight, whoops, maybe not my tea over. Steering by Starlight is really a way for us to explore our destiny. And she is really talking about our intuition. And she uses the inner compass as a way for us to engage with our intuition. And what she's arguing is that by engaging with our intuition, by being present to it, it leads us to our North Star, the place we're meant to be aiming towards. And it reminds me astrologically, because there's a symbol in astrology called the North Node. Now, there are 2 points in the chart. They are not planets. They are 2 points in the chart. The North Node, which is pointing us, guiding us to where we're meant to be in this life. And the South Node is our comfort zone. It's our skills and our talents that we've brought to the surface from our old life, meaning our past lives, but also from our younger life in this life. So the North Node is the invitation astrologically that is pulling us, inviting us to really expand who we are and to step into this new iteration so that we really do begin to live far more expansive lives. Now, Martha's book, Steering by Starlight, is a beautiful guide to help you navigate your North Star. And so here it's about paying attention to your intuition. What is it teaching us? What is it leading us to do? What is it encouraging us to do? Now, invariably, the intuition is always present and it's always trying to teach us something, point towards something. But what interrupts our intuition is this sense of our ego, as well as, you know, the roles we have adopted throughout life, the things we have just gone along with. So we don't want to rock the boat and we want to maintain the status quo, or we've fallen into a particular career, way of being, relationship, but we're not fundamentally happy there. And or we're recognizing there's more to us, more to life. There is something tapping. Now that tap is the intuition, our intuition, and it's wanting to navigate us. And Oprah describes the intuition as, if you ever are in a situation and you have doubts, then don't. And the intuition is inviting us to pay attention to the do's and the don'ts in life. And one of the ways that we can begin to really engage with our intuition is to be fully present to the moment and the moments of how we're going through our everyday lives. Because by being present, what I found from my own experience is that it allows me to continue to turn down the dial. So it becomes neutralized in my head and I can pay attention to the person, the scenario, the situation that's right in front of me. And when you become more present and you've started to turn down that dial, what happens is that you're able to see or to feel, because the intuition is really about feeling, the subtle shifts, the subtle nuances in what's going on inside of you, as well as observing what's going on outside of you. And that is the reason why Martha really does advocate by paying attention to our intuition, allows us to step in to cultivate our destiny. And what I love about this, and I'm very much this way inclined, is that these books are about self-determination. And so I live my life from that perspective, being self-determined about the thing or the things that I want to do, being intentional. And so by being intentional and by your ability to tune out, turn down the noise, turn down the frequency, start zoning out what doesn't apply to your life, you're able to hear your own exquisite dance, your exquisite heartbeat about what is the next, what might be illogical thing, because with our intuition, invariably, we might not be able to articulate what it is and what we're meant to be doing, but the pull is there and we're paying attention to the pull and we're paying attention to what the environment is showing us. And so what Martha talks about is tap into it. And it's never too late. As baby boomers, we've lived at least 6 decades, some 7 and going into their 8th. It's never too late to pay attention to your dream, to start dreaming again, to start desiring again. And by tuning out and being more intentional about your life, then you're able to start tapping on the door of your own destiny. This is the second book that I recommended to my friend earlier this week that I think will help her and you. It certainly has helped me continue to unfold my life. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm so glad that I have that about me. I'm deeply curious. And so all of me gets satisfied. I live in a way whereby I continue to attempt to integrate all of the different parts of me. And by doing so, I can lead a far more self-determined life. So, as I said, we had Recovery of the Inner Child. That came to me about 25 years ago. And then Martha's book, well, I met Martha in 2009 and started diving into her book and her work. And then the third and final book I want to share with you today is this beauty. And it's called The Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer. I think I came across this book. It coincided with, I think it was 2017. This is a fabulous book. Now, I was a Buddhist for 12 years. I was I had a very clear Buddhist practice. And Soka Gakkai Buddhism was very much about living the self-determined life, but polishing our inner mirror and listening, paying attention, becoming more self-aware. And so for me, when I first read, because I do read this book every year, when I first read The Surrender Experiment, it was like, oh, I remember this. I'm already into the rhythm of this. So Michael A. Singer, when he was in his late 20s, I think, mid to late 20s, he was a classic academic and he could have gone on to do, I think, a doctorate in chemistry or something like that. But one day, there were a series of one days where he was arrested emotionally from the point of view, what's that voice that goes on in our minds? Each and every one of us has that internal voice that's talking to us, is talking to you now as you're watching me or listening to me. The inner voice. And what he wanted to do was to explore the relationship between his conscious identity as well as that voice, the one that's always speaking or is silent, but is guiding us. And hence he dove into the world of self-mastery by attempting to master his mind. Meaning, how do we begin to master our thoughts? How do we begin to take charge of who we are? How do we begin to pay attention to that constant chatter that's going on? Now, why I love this book and why it chimed with me, because when I was a practicing Buddhist, one of the things that we did was tozos. We would be chanting twice a day and we would have tozos that could go on for 7 hours. And trust me when I tell you, whether it's 7 minutes, intentional, or 7 hours, you really do get to see and hear what's going on in your mind. Because as a Buddhist and chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, the thing was about steadying, grounding, centering, paying attention to what are the thoughts that are in your mind. Now, what Michael is espousing is they are there. Don't pretend they're there, but they're also not you. Yeah, what he does is help all of us to separate from who we're growing into and who we're becoming, but becoming more conscious of what's going on in our minds. And so it is called the Surrender Experiment, because there's this beautiful quote that says, we rise by kneeling and we gain by surrendering. And the central tenet of this book is, for those of you, us, we've all been it in various times and some still are, but for those diehard, committed control freaks, this is a fantastic book that is going to help you chip away at you in subtle ways, but very obvious ways, where you need to stop doing this with your life and holding on and trying to control other people. Because one thing that I've learned in my 6 decades is people do not like to be told what to do. And so for me, I just think, be you, boo, and do your own thing, rightfully so, because other people's decisions have no bearing really in terms of what I may like or not. And what Michael does in this exquisite book is to guide us through how to become more conscious of our thoughts. And when we become more conscious of our thoughts, just like with Martha's book, Stirring by Starlight, and The Recovery of the Inner Child, taken together or even separately, they help us to become better decision makers of our life. We are the ones who are in control of our lives. Be you 60, 70, 13, you might have parental, rail guards around you, but we all are the ones who know what goes on in our own mind. And these 3 books, in one form or another, this one takes you back to your childhood, but not only just back to your childhood, it helps to connect you to your adulthood so that you continue to thrive with vitality. This one is about steering you away from the noise and owning your intuition. I was out with a friend, we were ladies who lunched yesterday, and she was asking me, and she said, well, how do you know? And I said, well, I just pay attention to my intuition. I pay attention to that thing that pulls us, call it our internal thread. We know the thing that pulls us, but are we stable in ourselves to trust that thing? Trust that piece of advice. Trust that something's pulling me in this direction, but I'm not quite sure what the outcome is going to be, but it feels right. Intuition is about what it is really tied to our feelings. And then topping it up with this sense of self-mastery. These are just 3 books that can guide you towards this expansive self. It guides you towards a deeper sense of emotional intelligence, because you become far more self-aware about who you are. And the more that we all become self-aware in terms of who we are, means that when we're beginning to engage with other people, there's something that switches on, the antennae starts to rise up, and we become more focused or relaxed or present to what's going on with each and every one of us. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. The 3 books I recommended to this lovely new friend that I had a conversation with, quite a deep, profound conversation with. These 3 books are the 3 that I recommended to her. What I plan to do next week, because so many people are trapped by childhood and particularly parenting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to review a book. I'm not going to give you the title of the book, but this book is a phenomenal book when it comes to tackling your parents. And I'll say no more until next week. So I've got some comments. Hold on. I've got some comments on StreamYard, so just bear with me a moment. Oh, it's Mon Taylor. Hold on. Let's click on there. And Mon is saying, happy Sunday. Thank you so much, Mon. And yeah, she's saying happy Sunday. Whoops. Hold on a minute. And what is she saying here? What is she saying? But right, she's made a note of the titles. Sorry about that, Mon. May I see Inner Child? Oh, you want to see the book, the Inner Child book again? Okay, no problem. This is the Inner Child book. Okay, Recovery of Your Inner Child by Lucia Cappachione. Okay, so I hope everybody's got that. Okay, she's got that. Wonderful. Glad you have. Thank you so much, Mon, for your engagement. Thank you so much for being here and part of today's show. So next week, as I said, I'm going to be highlighting a book that when I bought this book, and I have passed this book out to friends, that it's dog-eared. It's a very powerful, transformative book, but I will share all of that with you next week. Please put your comments in the comment box below regarding these 3 exquisite books that I spoke about today: Recovery of Your Inner Child, The Surrender Experiment, and Steering by Starlight. Baby boomers, I actively encourage you, as you are into this 3rd and final act of life, live with more joy, with more ease, with more vitality, and really explore yourself in ways that are meaningful to you, that help you to relax psychologically, that help you to really begin to clear out any debris that you have left in terms of your life, so that you can live with joy and ease and co-create with your fabulous inner child. So please put your comment box comment box. Please put your comments in the comment box below. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Please turn on the notification bell so you know when I'm going live or when I upload a video. Have a fantastic week as we're all trying to take in the last of this summer sun. Have a great time, and I will see you again next week. Thank you so much. And I can see one other comment here. Oh, it's hearts. Thank you very much. See you all next week. Bye-bye.